Hi, Dad. How are you today?
Jordana, it's a beautiful, beautiful October day. Hard to believe that October has been this beautiful and this warm. Maybe it's because of the warming of the environment, but next week it's going to be even warmer.
And the beginning of November, I think, on Friday.
Right, and Halloween will be here. And we had 2 wonderful Hallmark movies. Can you believe that?
This year, I think the Hallmark, countdown to Christmas has been spectacular so far. I'm a little nervous because we can't keep up with these movies.
Well, we started by saying, well, let's just look at one Hallmark and we'll review it real quickly. And we got engrossed by
We did.
This one, the first Hallmark, and we watched the whole Hallmark. And then we said, well, let's go watch the next Hallmark.
It is so true. We kind of just, got captivated because we kind of sneak peeked to see which one we wanted to watch. And
You're right. And the storylines, the writers and the directors that Hallmark has this season has just been outstanding, as well as the talent that they've been able to bring forth to us.
So this week we're going to review, actually, on this episode, we're going to do 2 movies because we can't keep up with them and we just keep watching these Hallmark movies.
Well, we are going to review 2 because we found both of them were so entertaining, so cheerful, and actually both of them were very relevant to my life. Yeah. And I'll try telling you about it.
Absolutely. Come over a little bit, Dad. You're a little off screen, so come on in.
Come over here, get closer. Okay.
And let's get started. So we actually watched, because if you remember last week, we reviewed the Friday night one. So we decided to watch the Saturday night movie, which was called Holiday Crashers. We knew we were going to like this one. But
it's sort of like Wedding Crashers.
It's like Wedding Crashers, but they're crashing holidays. Yes. So we watched that one. So let's talk about that one first. What were your thoughts on this one?
Well, first of all, it was wonderfully produced. And the actors were outstanding. I mean, they were very relatable. What was interesting is that it initially took place in Westport, Connecticut, which is on Long Island Sound, and it's near Stamford, Connecticut. And they were very accurate because the area where everybody goes to the beach is called Campo Beach. And they talked about Campo Beach. So they were accurate. The writer must have known about this area, Westport, and it was so interesting to see how accurate they were.
Yeah, and we have several of our viewers happen to be in that area, so we have been to Westport, Connecticut. So
and to Campo Beach.
Yes. So it was just felt like a little bit like home.
I felt I was in the movie. Yes.
So we love this. And this one was about, first of all, this had not only 2 main characters in it, but there was 4.
They were wonderful. All 4 actors were very, very accomplished.
And 2 of them were very familiar to Hallmark, and then 2 were relatively new to Hallmark. So I do want to point out we had Lindsay Fonseca, who has been in tons of Hallmark, and I was so excited to see her in here, along with Chris McNally, who has also been in. So you had Tony and Justin, and they played, a love interest in this. But then you had a secondary cast in this one, which I thought they were even a little bit more fun. You had
the whole movie.
It was fun, Daniela Monet really was a spotlight, I think, in this. Her character was fun, and I thought she brought a lot of charisma to the cast.
Yes, but Lindsay Fonseca, the female lead, who's known to all Hallmark viewers and who's been in many, many movies, was also very wonderful.
She was. Oh, not to give it away, but
Yes.
I just really loved how kind of Daniela played her role as Bree, the best friend,
Yes.
and just had such charisma in her part. And that was, I think, the character. The character was just a fun best friend, and she really played it well.
And we've all been to weddings or parties that we really weren't invited to.
We have. I don't know if I have. Have you?
Absolutely.
Damn, you
Yes.
rebel.
Well, when I was much younger, we went to a wedding, and the groom, who was a friend, said, "Stop in after the wedding and after the dinner, and you can share in the dessert." So when we were there, we saw that there were other weddings going on, and so the next week, we went after somebody else's wedding who we didn't know. We stopped in and we enjoyed dessert and coffee.
Oh, I love that. That's such a fun
so
story.
we sort of crashed the wedding. It was terrific. And that's why I related to this wedding.
Oh,
character.
I love that. Yeah. And then we had also, I want to point out, the character who played Vinny was, I haven't seen him in a Hallmark, so I think he's relatively new to Hallmark.
New, that's right.
And that was Jag, I think it's pronounced Jag, Bao.
Well, there were two love romances going on in this one particular movie, and I think that for our viewers, for those who've crashed weddings or crashed parties, or just people who dream of crashing parties, it was a wonderful Hallmark.
I loved that for them, they kind of were stuck in a rut of their life and at the holiday times. And I loved how at each party they took on a new personality. And I thought that was so much fun. They played a different character or a different role and kind of got caught up in it.
And we can all identify.
Yeah. And it was fun. My favorite role that Tony played was when she played the doula, and she was like showing women how to like go through labor and stuff. And it was just, they showed with such charisma. It was so much fun. I really loved this one.
And how the entire storyline evolved, and it was so much cheerfulness.
Yes.
And that's what kept us so interested after a whole Saturday of watching football.
And the gist is, you know, there is a story part of it. They go to these different holiday parties, but she really is went to law school, and it was all that she didn't end up taking the full bar, and she kind of got mixed up in going to Vermont to go this. So you'll see it. We're not going to give anything away.
Yes.
This is a must-see, I think.
And yes, tell about the second movie we saw.
So the second movie we watched, which I really enjoyed, this was this week's Friday night feature film, and it was called Operation Nutcracker.
And I could identify with that also. The storyline, of course, was that people got their suitcases mixed up at the airport where the carousel goes around, and people pick their suitcases up, and there was a valuable nutcracker.
A priceless
nutcracker that was picked up accidentally, not by the two main characters, but by a third person. So there were 3 suitcases on this carousel that all looked alike. And we've all looked for our suitcases, and we've all picked the wrong suitcase and put it back.
And you see this kind of set up because these were all supposed to be carry-on bags, but it happened to be that this flight was full. So they're like, nope, you can't check this on. He's like, no, you must let me bring this on. There's priceless items in here. He's like, no, sir, you can't. And so as he's going to get it bag checked, the luggage tag falls off, and you know that something is going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Yes, and this again had great story writing. It was heartwarming. The actor and actress and the supporting cast were outstanding. But I once had an experience just like the
main characters.
The main character, because when I was coming back once from Australia, our plane landed in Los Angeles at LAX, Los Angeles' airport. and I went through security after having picked up my luggage, so I thought, off of the carousel. When I got back home, I opened my luggage, and there were ladies' underwear and ladies' skirts and dresses. And Nana said, "Where did you get that suitcase? You went through
Customs
carrying somebody else's suitcase," and no one said a word. Well, I immediately took this strange suitcase with ladies' underwear back to the airport, and my suitcase was going around and around on the carousel.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully, 2 hours later.
The poor lady, though, where was she?
I don't know where the lady was. I hope she got her luggage. But this story reminded me of my experience, and I'm sure all of our viewers have similar
Absolutely. It's a fear. I mean,
Yes.
imagine we all go and look and we pull one out and we look at the tag to make sure it's ours
That's
with
right.
our name on it, which is why we have it. Or you see people are now attaching colored things so you can
That's
identify
right.
it or get hot pink luggage or something. That's why there's
Something
all different colors out there.
Right. Are taking a black marker and marking up your luggage so you know which one's yours.
So this Operation Nutcracker was, I think, a phenomenal movie.
Yes.
Also, there've been, like we said, there's so many outstanding movies. The cast was, I thought, great. Both main characters are very familiar to Hallmark.
They were wonderful, yes.
Ashley Newbrough and Christopher Russell. Everybody would, when you see them, you'll know exactly who they are.
Yes.
And I love them together. They complement each other.
They were very,
Christopher
very good.
Russell, this is a movie that I love seeing him with a tall leading lady because he has such great height in it, and they suit each other really well. I think in the last movie he was with a leading lady who was a little bit vertically challenged like I am, and I love seeing him with someone who's tall.
It was a super movie.
Yeah.
In fact, both movies I thought were wonderful. They were happy. The writing is exceptional. The directing was wonderful. And the actors that they used were very believable. And they seemed to really like each other while they were acting.
And this was also so, it was the hunt for the suitcase, which took the majority of the movie, and how they did it was...
It was great.
It was great. I mean, it was creative. It was, you saw both sides of the story. The person who got the suitcase and we had this little girl. The little girl was phenomenal, I thought, too. And the whole idea of the Nutcracker and then how they brought in the Nutcracker.
That's right. And for all of our viewers, both of these stories are very wonderful, very entertaining, and it foretells that Hallmark is continuing to produce wonderful, wonderful theater for all of us to enjoy on our television sets.
Right. So I think next week, actually, we will be, because Mom and I kind of sneak peeked what was Saturday night's movie, which was the Christmas Charade, because I kind of wanted to watch it with Mom today, and then we started watching it, and Mom goes, nope, Dad's going to really like this one. So I'm
looking forward to it.
We're going to review that one next week, because it's like, you'll love it. It's like a movie within a movie, which I know you like those, where they're really good.
Well, because you have to think what Hallmark is trying to sell and share with its viewing audience.
But next week there are 2 new movies as well, so I don't know. We're gonna probably we're gonna have to be
double
doing,
header.
Yeah, we're gonna be
like
doing these double headers like that are great. But next week we have A Carol for Two, which I think is gonna be great because I love musicals. This is about someone who has a dream to be on Broadway, and she's working in one of those diners that they sing while they're singing waitresses. And then I think she gets a part with somebody else, and they get in
that sounds,
there.
That sounds very exciting.
It's musical. And we love when they bring in people, especially who are singers, who go and are working on Hallmark. And then the second one, that's the Saturday night one, is our holiday story. Now, this one is about a couple, which this one seems very interesting too, is telling their love story, how they got together with their kind of mismatched love story, how they kind of ended up together, to their daughter's boyfriend, who is having a struggle with their relationship. So I think it's kind of interesting how the daughter's not there, but they're telling it to the boyfriend. So
it's Hallmark.
It's Hallmark
sharing with you for the coming season before winter comes, if winter ever gets here.
Yeah.
And we are still in the midst of football, and football is going to go for another 3 or 4 weeks, and then basketball, which is going to start, I think, next week. And hockey is in full dimension going on right now. So there are so many things to compete with Hallmark, but Hallmark is entertaining, and you seem to really like Hallmark because it gives you joy and pleasure and occasionally a tear or two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, isn't that the same for you though?
I enjoy Hallmark because it gives me something to think about in this kind of world that we're living in.
Yeah, just, I think for the few hours that you're watching it,
That's right.
It takes you away from whatever the worries are. During the time when we were watching these movies.
No question. It's a wonderful, wonderful
It's just fun.
diversion.
Not to say there aren't other movies we could have watched, but these are just guaranteed fun.
Yes.
For, and if it's, you never know what they're going to bring. But the next 2 weeks, next week look good. And it looks like their lineup's going to be good.
And Hallmark right now is free to the viewing audience, at least what we're watching, whereas everything else is so expensive. You have to subscribe, and then you have to, wait and see what's coming to you, and it comes in a series where Hallmark gives it all to you within 2 hours of a wonderful evening of entertainment.
Well, and that's because we're not doing the Hallmark Pass. Now, the Hallmark Plus. I do think there is some new movies, and please, if we have subscribers that are subscribed to Hallmark Plus, let us know how you like it, because we are not subscribed to it. But I don't think it's something we plan to subscribe just because it is.
Because Hallmark presently gives us so much entertainment and so much pleasure that we're saving money watching Hallmark, which is wonderful.
It's great. So we love the regular viewing they have. So hopefully they'll keep the regular subscription.
And to all our friends, we thank you for tuning in to Jordana and myself.
Yeah.
We've had a wonderful, wonderful time, and we look forward to seeing you next week with more Hallmark, and we wish you a wonderful week, and hopefully the weather remains calm and warm, but snow's coming.
Well, especially for Thursday, for trick-or-treating for all of our friends out there, we're hoping for good weather for everybody.
And for all our audience, get out and vote.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week. On behalf of Jordana and myself,
absolutely,
we thank you for tuning in.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye, everybody.